wanted to find out today, but I'm not sure I'm going to get much successes to find out what's the state of the bot. Because we don't have Vi here either. So I don't know if there's any updates on edits on the bot.
So somebody was already actively building a specific bot for us?
Yeah, well, so ViViV had created, you can see, I think it's back in the discussion on the Communitas chat, that Vi had created a bot for folks when they enter the Discord, that they are given the opportunity to answer a little questionnaire, which is 3 questions, or 2 really, asking them so that we can sort of learn more about them, that we can collect that data and be able to make it useful in order to help these new contributors find their way in the TEC. And so we just ask for their handle, their name, that sort of thing, and how they envision, I don't know, participating. I think the second question was something like, how did you, I don't remember what it was, how did you get here? And then they're given a bunch of links for who we are, and then that data would be stored and we could sort of analyze it. And he did it, it's created, and I think it's even active, but there are just some, there's been some great advice process on that bot to kind of make it more useful, and we couldn't quite figure out what was the best way to collect the data. So for the time being, it was going to just a private channel on Discord, and I think the updated idea was that we would store it in a spreadsheet instead. And there's Eduardo, so maybe he can also add to that if there's anything else. So I think it was going to be stored in like a Google spreadsheet, but I was hoping somebody besides myself might have more information about it. Eduardo, do you have any updates on the bot? The what can we call it? The entry to Discord bot with the new idea on the spreadsheet?
Hello everyone. Sorry to be late. 2 things. Yeah, I have to sync with LiveIV, and once I sync with him, I can update it on the agenda and in the Discord channel. And then secondly, I will be mainly mute on this call, but I will be listening to everything.
You will mainly what?
Be mute on this call, but I will be listening, so no worries. You are muted, Suga. Sorry.
I was just saying, thank you.
I will jump in for the outreach that we did with Jim. That will be the time that I will intervene on this call.
Great. All right. Well, so actually you reminded me, Eduardo, the first thing I wanted to do for our agenda, I was thinking that a way we could start our meetings, instead of the usual intentions and distractions, I wanted to just make it more of an open introduction where you might be able to share with me some news for you, like either related to us or something going on that you would want to share. Innovator, howdy.
Do you mean like an update on general things or an update on the working group?
Well, I guess it's open to your discretion, but if there, so you can look at the proposal, and if there's, it's quite possible that I didn't add something, you want to add something. I'm sure Manu's got something. That would be great to hear about. Well, I know Manu, for example, you did the weekly update. So that's some news that is related both to TEC and to us, which is fantastic. Thank you very much for doing that. It's really awesome. But it may very well be that some things have slipped through the cracks for me. So yeah, I would love to hear anything extra that anybody might want to contribute.
Okay, let me take a look and I'll get back at you in a moment. Have you run this proposal with Tam or someone else just to... No, okay.
No, if you open the proposal, we'll see there's not much in it. We can talk about that. Let's go ahead and talk about that. So on the agenda, you know what's strange? Does anybody know? I suppose Vi would know this. I want to share the agenda, share my screen. I think I can't share my screen and talk to you on 2 different devices. So if anybody needs me to share the screen, then maybe somebody else can share the agenda, or else I'll have to log in on a different device. So for me, it's easier right now just to talk to you as we are, and somebody else pulls up the agenda, or else you just pull it up on your own. How do y'all feel about that? Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so have a click on the funding proposal. So I looked at the other working group funding proposals, and I just sort of hacked together something very simple, which I think is kind of what we need as both a new working group, but also as a very core, a very important TEC working group, particularly in terms of orientation. I mean, we are kind of we are the doorway, right, into the TEC. So we're really important to the TEC. So I wanted to keep it really simple, get your input, and ask you to kind of jump in on this. And so my feeling is basically, well, here, let's look at this. So Communitas is a core working group of the TEC that will only grow as the TEC grows, and that will need to scale quite quickly with the Commons upgrade. So that's coming soon. And so what I want to be able to do is to identify as specifically as we can the different activities, the different, the roles. Well, I'll call them activities because roles implies there are people doing the roles, and we have to, I think one of the hard aspects of the funding proposals is being able to figure out what the team looks like, since of course in the TEC folks are moving in and out of many working groups, and I know that there's been some suggestions on how to run that. So I'm just calling this activities. So what do we need to sustain and grow Communitas? So the Communitas working group's most significant functions are providing orientation and onboarding for new members and contributors. It also has community building functions such as supporting Hatcher relations and communications, TE Scouts, and the TEC Lounge. The Communitas working group will request funds from the TEC DAO on a quarterly 3-month basis to cover the expenses of its team. Their activities will include, but are not limited to, the following. Eduardo, we are seeing your, there we go. Thank you. Okay, so I just threw in a couple, and I was hoping that we could brainstorm on what some of these other items should look like. So regular orientation sessions, I mean, Discord communications and maintenance, orientation coordination and research, but this list can and should be obviously much longer. And then below it, I just have the chart for breaking down the compensation for that. And I mean, I did a really simple breakdown where I figured to run Communitas is effectively, let's say, 2 traditional, how I was picturing it in my head was like 2 traditional full-time positions. So if we break it down to like 80, I don't think I wrote this on here, but I think I wanted to say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, yeah, like 80 hours a week to run this working group. And so what does that look like? What are those actual activities? I know there's a lot of different things that we can add to this. So we can either work on this together now, or folks can just like dump in anything they want or share ideas.
I think like a relevant point to bring up is that just being available is probably like a large like would be a large percentage of that time, because that's really the point at which somebody that needs help and needs orienting is they're not going to come in on a schedule. So
Yeah, and
just
that,
letting
right. Thank you. Okay, so let's add that. What should we say? That'll be harder. Well, maybe in the end, this might come down where we can say something down here and like, let's see, orientation. I'm going to put this down here for now. Availability. Or let's see, general questions. And then this should be up top as well. I think that the boxes at the bottom will sort of morph a little bit, and then up here we can also just put those kinds of tasks. General QA, orientation, availability. But I don't even have on here like, I'm just going to say Hatcher outreach, or let's call it Hatcher, what do we call this, Eduardo, if you're hearing me? Hatcher communications, maybe. Hatcher relations, I guess. But there's a lot of other stuff, so it'd be great just to get your feedback. I know that you're just seeing this for the first time, so the more the better. And especially in fleshing out the chart, and also just your feedback on if that sounds right to you. I know we're all new here because the working group itself is new, but some of you, like Eduardo, Manu, Ivy, who have participated for a long time in other working groups, we can maybe think about, and I guess particularly Eduardo and Ivy, who've been stewards of other groups, how we can imagine the human power it takes to maintain a working group, like how the hours really play out. And I know that's kind of hard to calculate. And that's the big challenge of the funding proposal.
Yeah.
So that's
It's quite challenging. For example, Jean, how long it took you? Like Jean help us with the outreach for the campaign. How long it took you to do the outreach that you did, for example?
I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 hours, maybe 4 or 5, but it wasn't like all solid blocks. I spent 15 or 20 minutes at a time.
Correct. So imagine that we are probably having this relationship with the hatchers quite often, probably once or twice a month. So the more people we have as a hatcher, or people who we categorize as hatchers, or who has governance power, this communication needs to keep being handled. So that's a task by itself, because you have to prepare the message, you have to identify to whom, if it is talking engineers, if it's general, if it is not, then sort of coordinate with comms. If comms has sent something, what comms has sent, then filter. Like for example, Jean did corrections to grammar because the message was in English and there were corrections needs to be made. So all these things takes time. So there is this heavy kind of load of work sometimes, if it is something like this. So when I see this chart, orientation, Discord, Hatcher communications, and I will say community building exercise, it's another thing that we need to focus on. Like for example, the TC Lounge, it's a community building exercise. Also and anything else in between, like we have this, if we participate in another Daoist, in another event, in another thing that we will go as a community, how do we manage that, and what do we do in that space? How do we take advantage of the community sense when people get around, and this is something that we can also value. But yeah, there's and what else? Yeah, I would just add coordination as the fourth one on the budget below Hatcher communications. There's a coordination sense of things. Like Suga, you will have to coordinate with, I don't know whom to do what for a campaign. For when we do the commons upgrade, there will be that's a huge stuff because all of us needs to be aligned. So there's a time invested on syncing and talking with Ham, talking with Grave, with Param's team to know what we have to say to the in the Param sense, and it's or with comms, it doesn't matter. So yeah, there's a coordination aspect that it's also quite relevant in that sense. But yeah, besides those, I think those four aspects could be the starting point, and from that point on, after the 3 months, we can sort of update it. And there is also what I propose to Ivy on transparency to have retroactive budget if it is necessary. So in case, for example, let's say Monmanu took more time doing what, then if we don't have the budget, we include it as a retroactive budget. That's it. I said my piece.
I also want to add, I don't know where the weekly syncs would fall into this budget. I don't know if you have taken that into consideration. And also for transparency, we allotted some budget for engagement with the community, because sometimes some people have questions in Discord and in the forum. You know, I mean, just replying to those comments, to those questions take time for me to to think about the right response. So I don't know where it would fall into this list that you created. And regarding what Eduardo said, the what was that, retroactive?
Yes.
Yeah. Maybe it's good to have a budget allowance for that, or if not, like just put in your proposal like what's your plan to request for fund that like if you need more fund that's not in your proposal, like make a, a, like a statement in the proposal how you're gonna address those when those instances happen, like when you need more than what you requested. Like for transparency, we said that we can request that in our next proposal, so we don't have to request small amount exceeding a small amount. So, yeah.
I have something to share.
Sure.
Okay. Well, I've been talking with the working protocol. I mean, I've been working with Nick on the onboarding dashboard, and I can show you in a little bit. But I found these. Well, it's not a platform yet; it's a project, and it's a project that deals with coordination of members and organization management. And so, as you can see, it has an interface for you to have a project owner, have compensation, have the guiding documents. We can just put a link on there that goes to our Git book, and then it has the workers and the different roles that each one plays. As you can see, there's also a part where it lays out the compensation and yeah, even people to apply, and all these is we have his permission to like take this and adapt it to our own system. Like he said, I was like, hey man, like I don't want to steal this from you, but you're making it really hard. Like this is so useful and it's so needed in the space. And he's like, by all means, like fork it, clone it, do whatever you want, and yeah. So I thought we could use it and have like a tab there that says, powered by deep work, something like that gives credit to them. So anyway, what I like the most is it also has you can apply, right, and you can see the tasks that each role entails, and then the task details behind it. So we can see what, for example, user testing, what each of the tasks of that entails. And not only that, but you can also have, you can apply, and it's not showing here, but here's like one of the profile. You can see the profile, and it also has the number of times that you completed a task, right? So each organization fills, in this case, each working group can fill out the different roles that it's going to have. If it's, if it's Twitter management, if it's content creation for Medium, etc., the different tasks that entails, and the number of times you've done it. And also, because we're talking about this, we can do the time that it takes each task to each member, and then have like an average for people to show, and that can be calculated by a bot. Like we can have a bot where I had this in another team, where every time you log in or every time you start doing work, you start the bot, and actually you can have, and I know why YGG has something like this, but that one was like a Pomodoro bot. Pomodoro technique is like a time management method where you work in 30-minute time capsules, uninterrupted, no social media, no YouTube, no phone, airplane mode, and after 30 minutes you rest for 5. Then another 30, you rest for 5, another 30, and then you rest for half an hour. But again, this can be 1 hour. It can be you choose when you start, you choose when you pause, and that can illuminate how long each task take. We can gamify it, having XP. We can have batches when people are completed. We can connect it with the onboarding dashboard. I've been in close contact with Nick, like talking to her every day about the onboarding dashboard. We're going to put it on the advice process soon. We're happy to discover that Christopher is working on a similar thing for Common Stack, so like an onboarding dashboard for Common Stack. So that just gives us the confidence that it's going to get traction on the advice board. This is something that is a pain point that has been expressed many, many times. And this is something so needed in this space that I just actually have a call with him again. I'm venturing into groupie territory in terms of deep work. It's such a useful tool. I want to plug it everywhere. And yeah, I'll stop talking now and see what you guys think about it.
That looks really cool. That looks interesting. So would this would be something that we would be using for the working group, or did you present this for all working groups? Like, is this something that we could sort of adopt globally?
Yes. I've spoken to Tam about it, and he knows about deep work. He knows Andre, which is a creator. They met at ECC in Paris, and so he said that he was amazed at how excellent the interface was, and that she was amazed, and that she would love to have a partnership or cooperate, an alliance, whatever you want to call it, with this type of platform. So yeah, there's like soft approval. It has not been voiced yet because we have not put it for advice. But yes, the idea is for this to sync into the GitHub so that you can have issues there, and sync into the onboarding dashboard. The part that it concerns us, our mandate, if you will, is with community. And this is community management platform in a sense. It's organization, and communities is a huge part of communities organizing the different users. So yes, this can be, I mean, it really, the scope can be so expansive, but I'm looking at it here from a Communitas perspective, in comms from a comms perspective, and so on. So I think the working group that this deals with the most is community, but really all of them. I think community in the end in a DAO community, I think maybe in usual corporations, communities like not so important, or I mean, culture is important, whatnot, sure, but in a DAO, it's like it's everything. It's because we're working with each other asynchronously and all over the world. So this is something that is so needed in this space, and I can't wait for him to launch. But that I can see these, very easily plugged into our bots, into our GitHub. It's just an API thing, and we can make it as big as we want. But yeah, this is something that's going to take a while. Need to put it on advice process and start allocating some funds to it. But again, I mean, this is something that it's already laid out before us. We just have to change the color palette, the branding, that type of thing. But yeah, also he works with Michael Sargon in block science, so he's really good at what he does and has some notoriety in the space. And yeah.
Cool, very cool. So I guess it will, yeah, it'll be some time before we can implement that, I suppose. And so meanwhile, we'll still do what we can do with what we have. Other feedback on that?
No, it's neat. I mean, it's essentially like a DAO operating system with each page being its own little specific application. Yeah, I mean, in an ideal world, there wouldn't need to be anybody overseeing the process, because that would be doing everything that was needed. So yeah, that'll be good when it's ready to use full time.
Also, Mount Money, maybe you can ask Nate if we could invite this person to present it in the TC Spotlight. So, yeah.
Yeah, actually, I'm gonna have a call with Andre in about 2 hours exactly, and Nate will be in that call. Nick will be in that call. A new developer, a front-end developer, is gonna be in that call. Yeah, everyone's gonna be in that call. So I'll share it. I'll use that to have Nate, put him in the spotlight, literally.
Perfect. That sounds great. Did you, Manu, can you present to us the dashboard that you and Nick have been working on too? Is that possible? We haven't, our timing is pretty bad for her. She can't make it this week, she said.
Sure. Yes. This is the dashboard right now. This is something like how it's going to look. You log in, and there are the proposals. There may be forum posts, maybe the working group weekly update. It depends on where you are, and I assume everyone can see this. I keep hearing a noise. If you're giving a thumbs up, I cannot see it.
I can see it.
Okay. Cool.
We can see it. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Yeah. So this is how it's going to look, and the idea is for us to, depending on if you're just a new user and are looking around, then you can have all the links to the forum posts, for example, the Sherman article, which I share a lot. It's very useful as like a nonstop, like a one-stop thing for anything and everything, like a breakdown. Although it's somewhat long, but what we do is complicated, so it does require some time. And so depending on if you are a new user or if you are a steward and want to see what are the new users, there's going to be a tab as well where you have like the new users who joined, so that you know which ones need onboarding, what step they
We
are.
don't see it
You
anymore.
don't see it
by the way.
anymore?
I don't see it anymore. Does anybody else?
Yeah, I can see
Oh,
it.
there it is. Sorry. Okay, I got it. Thanks.
Yeah. Yes. So yeah, we're mapping out the user flow, right? So I'm going to use research, and I'm going to go to the subgov call because they have some data on cultural practices or friction that's been happening there. We're going to gamify it as well, in the sense that, okay, you join in. It's like the John Travolta meme, like you don't like what do you do? Like where do you look at? Like what do you need to know? And everything's going to be here in the onboarding dashboard. If what I like about deep work is we don't have to use the whole thing. We can just like take an arm or like a kidney or like a lung and just put it here. And so the process. So gamify it a bit, get experience, get badges. Whenever you finish the orientation, maybe there's another quest like join 5 Communitas calls or join 3 Communitas calls, and you get a badge. Communidator or something. I don't know. And so yeah, I'm gonna collaborate with Christopher, or at least talk to him, see what he's doing with the Common Stack onboarding dashboard, and yeah, this is sort of how it's looking right now in terms of.
So where would the dashboard be located?
Oh, also the idea is also for it to connect to your wallet, so that whenever you complete an issue, connect your wallet then to the reward system, so that as you're completing issues, you get you're gaining tokens. And honestly, it's hard to not make this like global. I mean, we can start testing it with like Communitas and comms. I know we're gonna at least attempt it or put it up for debate for comms. I know you want to do it as well for Communitas. But this is something that has not been done for the like in the website, because it's Web 2. So we want to make it Web 3, in that we want to plug it into our wallet and see how plug it into the reward system and the praise and that kind of thing. Sorry, what was your question, Suga?
Yeah.
Well, where would this be? Yeah, well, a tab on the website, or something like I don't know where exactly it would be, like a web app. So dashboard dot T Commons. I mean, that's already taken, but maybe onboarding dot T Commons or something like that. And yeah.
That sounds amazing. Yeah, feedback. What do y'all think about that?
So, like, where's the split between this and what the DAP work aspect? Like, are they both serving the same kind of purpose, or are they intended to do two specifically different things.
What do you mean by DAP work?
The stuff that you were showing us previously to this.
Oh, deep work?
Yes, sorry.
Oh, deep work. Yeah, well, they're both organization management tools in a way. So they are doing their own thing, deep work,
Is like one
and
internal versus external, or
I'm sorry.
is one like intended for internal use versus one intended for like external users? Like this would be like
Well,
hypothetically the external user one. Or?
yeah, this is more for internal. Deep work is more, it's for internal, but also has the ability to scale into DAO to DAO cooperation. And that is something that would be relevant, for example, for the inverter proposal, where instead of people funding DAOs, DAOs are funding people. Yeah, so they're doing their own thing. I just wanted to use it as inspiration. I think there's a lot of things to grab from them, but we're going to do our own thing over here at Communitas. This is Nick's dashboard. We are going to, again, keep working on this. And actually, it's about time that we put it up for, well, I mean, we haven't put it up for proposal because we're still figuring out the scope and how it's going to be integrated with the bots we have, with the wallets. I explained, Nick, yesterday, like the whole TSTK, TCH, TC, impact hours, praise, so that she has a better sense into how to incorporate that in here. But to answer your question, yes, this is more like inter-working group. Well, it's for internal working group work. And also I see this as like inter-working group work in a way, because if there are, it would be very easy to just communicate within the same dashboard. Maybe you can have, we need to define the scope, because this has the potential to expand into something, that is like how doing the whole project management for the whole thing. So need to talk to Tam about it, see where do we say, okay, this is enough, because it's gonna take some time. So like, what does an MVP look like? What are the priorities? How do we, because it's like agile type. So okay, we launch iteratively. So do we launch first with Communitas and communications, and then we start expanding, etc. So that's that.
Yeah, very good. Thanks. Yeah, I can see how versatile it is, and that's what I was like trying to describe by calling it like an operating system, because it can basically be the center point for everything. So
like an OS for each working group in a way.
Whereas the dashboard is something that Nick and you are creating separately, but as a tool for. So, Jean, one of the things we've been trying to tackle and are really finally getting our teeth into it is designing a way to get new members, new contributors oriented. And this idea that Nick has come up with and Manu is also working on, they're working together, is what the last thing that he just showed us. So this idea of a dashboard where they'll be able to be oriented without facing all of the noise, I guess, and traffic that you get in the regular Discord, right? Is that part of it, Manu?
Yeah.
Sort of a clean.
Yeah, and also like to synthesize like the dashboard. Maybe we can have maybe that would be on the communications, because that deals with internal communications, but also on Communitas because it's a community. Like communication, again, Chu is working on the work group manifesto, the funding model, and that would illuminate what's the scope and where do we overlap with Communitas. I wanted to show deep work first because that's something that would be useful in terms of, okay, for example, if we have an epic right? If we have an epic, it's much like the structure that I showed over here, where you have like a person that's assigned to it, and then people working um, with that person, and there are different tasks. Maybe one is doing the UI UX, the other one's doing the back end, the other one's doing user research, etc. So there are things that we can grab from there, uh, but that's something that Nick will choose. And of course, we're going to consult with the community, and also Suga is going to choose because she's the one. Uh, um, she's the one that in charge, or the Communitas, the one that knows the ins and outs of the community working group, and so she would be the one who has also an important say on the tab and what goes in there, etc.
So my question, Mount Mono, is so the members will create their own profile. Members can create their profiles in this dashboard. Is that how that works? Or when you connect your wallet, you will have like your own profile.
Well, we can. We're likely gonna be plugged into GitHub's API, and we can grab profile from there, or users can create their own dashboard. They'll have both options, and yeah. Also, we want to make it Web3, so we plug into our wallet, and yeah, maybe. I mean, we're gonna vote on a snapshot, of course, but it would be cool if we had like a breakdown, like a dashboard within a dashboard, if you will, of like the votes, and like maybe a pie chart of like people voting yes, people voting no. I mean, if it's just yes and no, then defeats the purpose. But for example, when there are different, like many decisions, like the ones we did on, oh, I forget the name, token log. So yeah, I mean, with in terms of with API, we can just plug into third parties and fetch information from them. Which is why I say we need to delineate the scope, because this can be a behemoth in the best sense of the word.
Okay, because I think if it's a dashboard, members dashboard, I feel like it needs more personalization, because without this personalization, it just looks like our website. I mean, the information, that might come in here will just be found in a website or in Discord. So maybe it would be great if our dashboard would have more personalized features. So it will be, I mean, the members will feel more that they belong to something, that they're really part of the community. If they have like
Yes.
this personal space in this in dashboard, because without that those features, it feels like a website to me.
Yeah, sort of like what I'm showing here in a way. This is, I mean, what I showed you with the Communitas. With the dashboard that the Nick has right now. It is very like it's I don't know if it's even a skeleton. We still need the tissue, the organs, the skin, the makeup. So it's very very early stages, and so yeah, I believe we'll have a profile. Um, goes without saying, but yeah, it's definitely useful to have that feedback that yeah, it's something that we wanna make it personal, so that people have an avatar and
Um,
can actually become invested into what they're doing.
Yeah, and
Before
also
we continue, sorry, go ahead.
just quick one. Maybe we can also have like a section for tools that people can use, like just one page or one section that everything is there, like yeah, the tools that they can use in the community, like the Zen Hub link. And talking about the Zen Hub, maybe Suga, I forgot to mention this in the proposal. Maybe you can also include in the activities like onboarding contributors to Zen Hub. it will take also a while to to onboard them, because some contributors don't know how to navigate Zenhub yet.
Yep, I made a note of that. Thank you. Cool.
Yeah, I just wanted to say before we continue, if Lijai, Martin, or Innovator has any question regarding what we have spoke, because we have 10 minutes left, and I would like to everyone here be clear or like understand everything we are talking. So I would like to know if you guys have any question, any doubt, anything you want to contribute to the call. You are welcome to participate. But Martin,
Thanks,
Innovator.
Eduardo. Yes, I'd like to make a comment, please. You guys seem to kind of have a very good idea of what you're doing, which is wonderful. I just want to kind of provide some external perspective. In other DAOs, most of them, typically, they're quite active in Twitter. They get people on board into the Discord area, and they all recognise they need to onboard and orient. So my question is, to what extent would tech look at this as a product, and how much would they want maybe to offer it, and in what way would they want to offer it? Would they want to offer it on a collaborative basis, or might they even think about it as something that could earn tokens? And that's my question.
So you basically mean if all the things that we are sort of going to implement, if we will be able to offer it to other DAOs, and what will be the exchange for?
Yeah, I think there's a possibility, but I don't know if that's what we want to do. I'm very new here, so I'm learning all the time.
So right now, we have certain things that are being like that are expanding. For example, we have the gravity curse. The gravity curse comes from the gravity working group, which is a group for conflict resolution and how to do it and apply it to DAOs. And we are going to basically eventually that will become a DAO by itself, the gravity working group, and then it's public good. Yes, a public good. And then the idea is that we can expand these tools. Other DAOs make use of them to sort of create this environment where everyone have access to these public goods, as Manu explained. So there will be cases. There's another project for us called the e-services. You may want to take a look at it. I think those are more into exploring the option of receiving compensation for these services. But we are still in the exploratory phase of this part. And I think most of these services, if they come alive, they will come alive after we do the commons upgrade, which is the last state of our process of becoming a commons. So I don't know if that answers your question, Innovator. Peter.
And I'll
Eduardo,
just add
thank
to
you.
it. Can I add to that for you, Innovator? Thank you, Eduardo. I was thinking about this also when I was drafting the funding proposal, and my point at the beginning was to say that my feeling is that orientation, is an integral part, definitely, of any DAO. And I'm not sure that we at this point have mastered that process enough to sell it on. However, with the dashboard that Manu is just sharing with us, I mean, it is true that something like that, if you could really master that, that would be worth sharing with other DAOs in the community. But I think right now, the other thing about Communitas, as I think you all know, it's a very new working group. And so we're actually just, I think we're moving quite quickly now that we've finally formed and are getting up to speed with how to start to grapple with the numbers that are increasing of the contributors that are entering the DAO. But yeah, devising a tool that we could export, so to speak, that might be, I don't know, from my point of view, that might be a little ways off, but but I don't know. I mean, I'm also extremely impressed with what I've seen very recently, very rapidly from Nick and Manu. So there could be something in the works.
Yeah, I think that it's a matter of understanding that if the tool that we create or produced or we are using works for us, and then we have tested out and the implementation functions and it works, there shouldn't be a blocker for other eventually DAOs to incorporate them. So it's a matter of we are a sort of an experiment of a public good, and the idea is that since it has the nature of a public good, anyone can use it. The idea is that since it's an experiment, of course, we will try to make it as refined as could be, so others can sort of skip this part of trial and error, if you may say so.
Yes, plug and play.
Plug and play, correct. What about Martin and Leah? Do you have any question or doubt? If not, you're welcome to listen. It's okay. You can keep going, Suga.
We're so glad you're here. In any case, very glad. I'm looking. That's actually another. So we only have 5 minutes left. Thank you, Eduardo. We'll see what else we can cover today. Maybe I'm just going to pop real quick to the last point on the list because that just came up, which I just wrote down as community solicitation. So again, Communitas being a new working group, I just wanted to suggest to everyone that you tell your friends and family to join the party. And because, of course, we're looking for more support and more contributors and folks interested to help get this working group off the ground, especially as we move headlong into space toward the Commons upgrade. And so I think we would really love any word of mouth sharing that everybody can do. Let's see. So I'm gonna, go ahead. Thanks.
If I may add to that solicitation, I also encourage everyone in this call to join the thesis launch call on Fridays, 5 p.m.
Yes.
So it's a more of a flexible space. We talked the other time about trailers and videos, and all get shared on the community hall text channel. But yeah, it's more of a, who is Jean? Like, what do you do in your real life? If you want to talk about it. And we found out in the last call that Vive IV and Adam, a man with wings, which is a new user who came to orientation call, they live in the same city. And they're going to actually meet in the real life in India, of all the places. So it's a space to just share if you want, or you can just listen if you want. So just want to invite you all to come to the call.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, Eduardo. TEC Lounge. So before we finish up, one thing I just want to tackle is, so we'll talk maybe next time about the idea of pods. So just briefly, Anna Marie, who's actually pretty occupied at this time and so won't be coming back anytime soon unless we really need her support, but she proposed an idea of joining new contributors or new joiners into small pods. You can click on that link and see what that looks like, give your feedback, what you think about that, and we could sort of try and implement something that maybe with I forget how we would implement that, if it was through a bot or how we would handle it. But the idea is that similar in a funny way to the TEC Lounge, it would be that you would have maybe 3 or 4 or 5 other new members where you could just sort of sync or async on whatever you wanted, like that you would share your orientation experience together. Kind of the way you do when you start university, for example, that it's just a group of people who you know, and you can maybe share info, ask questions if you can't find the answer, and this kind of thing. So that was one idea we want to get a chance to talk about soon. Another idea is having orientation sessions less frequently and promoting them. I noticed that if I mention in the orientation channel that an orientation session is coming up, we get a lot more participants, which is great and which we need to do. So maybe we can figure out a way, and maybe it's worth talking to comms about this, I'm not sure, a way to promote orientations a bit more. And in that way, we would do them maybe only once every couple of weeks and offer two different time zones so we could get the other half of the world that sort of usually gets left out of our regular calls.
Ivy,
please.
We have a reminder of the call on Twitter, right?
Yeah, we do have, but I'm thinking
orientation.
Maybe we can. I can ask Acid Laser to make a different graphic for it so it can catch more attention, because right now the template that we're using is the usual template that we have, and people are used to that
Yeah.
to seeing that graphic already. But
Okay.
once you've set up the new schedule of the orientation calls, so just update me so we can plan the
Okay.
communication.
And just before, if we can end on I will give you the last. Sorry. If we can go to the praise channel and praise Jean for the outreach that we did, because we managed to get 78 votes, which is the highest vote participation we have ever had on the TEC. And it was half of those outreach that we did are his. So if we can just give him praise, it will be really nice and appreciated. So that's
Thank
it.
you.
Thank you, Jean.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, everybody. We're at the top of the hour. So any other questions, concerns, ideas, let's do them async in the chat channel. Maybe we can follow up on some of these ideas. Thank you all so much. So glad to see you all.
Thank you,
Thanks.
Have a
everyone.
good
Thanks, Suga.
day.
Thanks, everyone.